is sell yourself short. Like if you are part of a team that led to something, much as you are not the last person to sign off on a report, you were part of that team. And it's good to include that I was part of the team that led to this achievement. Funny emails. Have you ever asked someone for an email and one of their emails, like they give you an email that's like, comekissme@gmail.com. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel where we discuss everything from beauty, career, fashion, lifestyle, and anything that's interesting, we can get into it. Okay, so I know most of these things look like it's common sense, but it actually is not common sense. You'll be very surprised to find how many people make these common mistakes, and even if you're very learned and have how many degrees, and you're bound to make some mistakes as a human being. So it's good to have like a checklist, things to tick off and say, have I captured this, have I done this, have I done this, and then afterwards you can have like a second person, a third eye or a second eye to just look through your CV and advise you, have you made the right decision, have you made the right have you used the correct grammar, or have you left out any information. So let's get into it. First and foremost, and this is very, very important, stop using the same CV to apply for all jobs. Stop using the same CV to apply for all jobs. Like you're going to, in between the application of jobs, you're bound to make a mistake. And trust me, I'm guilty of this. One way or another, you're bound to leave like company information of another company within that CV. And then because you're using the same CV, not all job applications, just because someone is advertising for, let me say, an accounts administrator, or let me say a sales market, not all jobs are the same. Just because it sells like marketing department doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily have the same job description. So it's always good to look at the job. What does it have? What does it entail? And then I don't know, curate or customize. This is the word that I'm looking for. Customize your CV according to the job description. And I find that when I started doing that, I started getting like responses from employers rather than ghosting me. Trust me, everyone has their shares of ghosting stories from employers. And then let's go into the introduction, like that part where you talk about who you are. So I'm talking about that small, brief summary. It's like an address, like how you write a letter, but I'll just be sharing with you guys like how I have my format. I'm not going to give you everything because everyone is different and everyone wants their CV different. So my CV has been changing throughout the years, and the way I introduce myself has actually totally changed. One thing I don't do anymore is include my age on CVs. For what? Who wants to know? What is it for? Like we live in an era where we have kids doing jobs of like the same job as a grown-up, or a grown-up answering to like a younger person. I don't know if you know what I mean. So one thing that I have learned is don't include your age on the CV. Don't include your date of birth on the CV. Honestly, do not. That's my advice, but to each their own, so you may have your own preference. And then another thing that I wanted to say is if you're new in a country, or if you're not a citizen of that country, you need to state your status within that gap. Like it should be even bolded on your CV that, like for example, if you're in Canada and you're looking for a job and you're just like an immigrant and you don't have like citizenship like yet, it's ideal to state that my current work status, I'm currently maybe a permanent resident, I'm allowed to legally work here, or currently on a work permit with this employer, so that they know it's going to expire and then they're going to renew it for you. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's good to include your work status in any country. If you're legally required to go through extra steps to actually work in that country. That's what I mean. Also, now we're going to go back into, after the small address introduction, where you live, where you reside, everything about that, and you need to include your telephone number in case they want to contact you, your email address in case they want to contact you. So speaking of that, let's talk about the email address that you're going to include on your CV. One of the common mistakes that people make regarding CVs is including funny emails. Have you ever asked someone for an email and one of their emails, like they give you an email that's like funny, maybe call girl, or funny, like I don't even know, like I can't even create something that ridiculous. Like some emails are very ridiculous. Like if you don't have a professional looking email, like just a simple name, then just please create one for the purposes of job application. Don't be like comekissme@gmail.com. And you may laugh about this and think I'm making this up, but I've actually seen people giving me such email address, like hotgirlsarah@gmail.com. Excuse me, and those, like, cherrypie@gmail.com, or anything. You know what I'm trying to say. Please get a professional email. Oh, okay, so sometimes people want to include their marital status, but I don't think that is necessary for the first time you're putting in your application. Later on, like when you have your foot in the door. Next. Okay, so now let's move on to the professional summary, because that was a personal summary. So now we're going to look at the professional summary. And here, one thing that I would like to advise you is not to talk in third person. Talking in third person meaning you're writing your sentences like, VC is a well-known this, VC achieved this, VC worked with a team of this. No, like don't type your CV in third person. Let it be personal and speak like I. Like refer to yourself I, and everything will flow on from there on. For the professional summary, one thing that I would like to say is get one of the achievements. Out of all the achievements that you have, look at one achievement that you can say, okay, this is it. This was the highlight of my career. Like this is my best achievement, and try to incorporate that into your professional summary. Does that make sense? Don't include all the achievements in the professional summary. No. Leave that to like educational, under the career, when you're breaking it down for them where you worked and what you achieved. But for the professional summary bit of it, I'm trying to say, try to show what you have achieved, and so that they know the kind of person they're working with, and then I can show you, like here, the first thing I was doing earlier on in my career, where I was just trying to list everything. Like I was just bombarding the whole paragraph with useless information. So you can see here I mentioned I mentioned my course and what I did, so that they see that I studied this and that I'm able to apply it, which in actual sense I wasn't able to. Let's look at spotlighting key issues. After the professional summary, just have a spotlight where you have your key skills. And when I mention key skills, I'm not talking about, I can speak English fluently. No. Those are more like personal skills, like people skills. So you can leave those towards the end. So here, when I'm saying key skills relating to the job, if it's about administration, how are your organization skills? How are you able to your scheduling skills? I don't know a lot about administration, so I cannot speak about administration, but I'll speak about like basically like accounting and finance, the stuff that I know. Like how is your risk management? You have your risk management skills, like financial preparation, so many things to do with accounting there that you can mention, but more detailed in skills under the skills section. But there's always a simpler way of listing your skills that will attract a person and say, okay, so this is what this person has. And usually, yes, Excel, like having fluency in Microsoft Office, that's also an addition, or any other skills that you have in terms of what systems you're aware of, or what systems you know how to use. That would be a good idea to include those as part of that, so that they know. And sometimes job descriptions say, okay, we're looking for someone who knows how to, like, who has worked with Oracle, or who has worked with SAP, and then who has worked with like like different, they can list down like a particular system that you have to have knowledge of. If you do, please, this is the chance to actually include it under that paragraph. We're moving on to the professional summary. Here, please do not call it objective. No one wants to, objective is kind of a big term, so I would suggest you use the word summary or professional summary or about me info, and this is like real detailed in-depth about you professionally in your career, not about you personally. We already covered that as an introduction. Moving on, you now go into the details of breaking down your education, what licenses you have. People are more interested in looking at your high school level, your higher education, university, any professional licenses that you may have. If you're like in like maybe CIMA, SIPS for procurement professionals, or I think it's CISA for IT. I mean for IT, then I see I don't know how to say it, but it's for the administration, like officers, like administrators and secretaries. They also have like a professional certificate that they get. I think ISACA, something like that. I don't know how to say that. Or like if you're an accountant, CPA or ACCA or CA, this is where you list all that, and it's always good to for you to list the years that you took to study that, and whether you are studying full-time or part-time, so that they know why it took you that long to actually complete this course. We will go into the breakdown of the your professional career, like where you have been working. And here it's very, very important to include all your years. Like if you started at a job, if you started as a store clerk somewhere, then include that and include the year. And then if you did not have a job after that first position, if it was just a temporary position, you need to include that gap there. So like for example, if you were a store clerk, and then you for example, you were store clerk for 1 year, and then for 2 years you probably enrolled into school and studied, so you were not able to continue work. Employers usually want to know why the employment gap that you have, you get. So it's good to explain and say, from this year to this year I was, like in a different country studying, or from this year to this year I was helping out my mother in this kind of situation, or I was helping out in family business, or I was volunteering during this gap year. It's always good to mention those gap years, but do not mention why you left a job. Much as there's an employment gap, do not include, oh, why I left this job because of this and this. No, do not include that. They will ask you this at a more detailed level along the way, when you have like your foot in the door and you've been shortlisted and you've been invited for another interview. So that's one of the things I advise. And then another thing, when you're talking about your career and you say I worked from in this place to this place in this position, if you have worked in a different company but through different positions, please do not summarize it all into one position. It's generally not good, because it doesn't usually reflect the skill level that you have. For example, in my former organization, I had worked as an administrator before, and then I worked I worked in business development before moving on to being into audit. So I got skills as an administrator, and then I got skills as a business developer. So showing that you have all these skills from different departments is key. So do not summarize it all and say, okay, so from this year to this year, the last job that I was doing is what you should consider as my job. No. So try to break it down for everyone. Yeah, you're ideally supposed to include the achievements. Like for me, I don't want to include all the achievements under one job, under each job, like all the achievements. I really like to highlight, like, this is the highlight of my career here. Like, hey, I helped private and public partnerships do this and this and this. Like, I was on the team that leads to this. One thing that you shouldn't do is sell yourself short. Like, if you were part of a team that led to something, much as you are not the last person to sign off on a report, you were part of that team, and it's good to include that I was part of the team that led to this achievement. You see what I'm trying to say there? So some people sell themselves short, like, oh my God, I've just been doing administrative work on this project, but what was the end goal of that project? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? So what was the end goal of that project? That means I am going to include the overall achievement of whatever that project was into my achievement. Some, just because of society thinks like the person who has signed off the report is actually the one who takes credit over what was achieved. So it's good to say that yes, this was my work and this is what we achieved under a particular job. Misleading information, that is very key. Misleading information in terms of, like, some people are just generally liars on their CVs. Do not be, because you want to get your foot into the door. People run background checks right now. Like most companies that I know, I'm not sure about the developing countries if they started running background checks, but most companies I know now run background checks because they know there's lots of dishonest people out there, and if you don't have integrity in your job, then you have nothing. So try to be as genuine and as honest as possible. If you don't have a bachelor's degree but you do have experience equivalent to what a person with bachelor's degree could have, speak to the person, let that be known so that they know you're working probably towards, maybe they can even help you like with whatever you want to achieve, but do not sell yourself short as well at the same time. So moving on, fonts and formatting. This is very crucial. So after listing everything, okay, moving on. So of course it's very good to include volunteer experience after the education experience, because I know you have gotten the job experience as a paid job, but it's always good to include the unpaid job, unpaid experience, which is a volunteering. And this is very crucial because many companies right now are very like involved in their social responsibility in communities. So to see that you actually care and you want to make change in the community, that's really, really good, and I encourage you to include that on your CV. And then if you are fluent in different languages, it's very good to have that as an edge for you. Okay, so after all that is done, we come to the references. Please do not include references without actually talking to your references first. This is very important because you will put your reference down and this reference will be surprised with a phone call. Hey, do you know this person? They told us and this and this. And sometimes people are going through hard times. If you don't give them a heads up, then you may not actually get the best out of them that you hoped you would get when you put them down as a reference. Does that make sense? So talk to your reference first and say, hey, this could be even a friend, but you know that professionally they qualify as a reference because they have supervised your work directly or anything. So reach out to them and say, hey, I'm going to put you down as a reference. Do you mind if I do this? And trust me, sometimes these people do not mind. Most people do not mind. If someone minds, oh, thank God you've dodged a bullet, and thank God you won't be able to put them as a reference, and you'll be safe. And write down the correct email addresses. It's always important to write down the email addresses of your references that are professional. Like for example, a company professional email address. Do you get what I'm saying? Instead of a Gmail for a reference. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense according to what I'm trying to say. Like when you put down your references email and you say they work at this company in this position. Let me say you've put Joanne something at gmail.com. No, put the correct professional address of where that person is working. This at thiscompany.com. It looks more professional. It gives you that edge, like your references are good. And sometimes it's always good to include both professional references and personal references. Personal references, I've been occasionally asked for personal references, like someone who can vouch for you, like in terms of your standing, like socially, because some people actually do not know how to behave socially, and these days social and professional goes hand in hand, if you know what I mean. So they always need someone to actually vouch for your other activities, your personal life. So it's always good to include like a friend who can vouch for you personally, or a relative who can vouch for you personally. Okay, now that we're done with all of the details of the CV, one last thing that I need to say is formatting. Fonts and formatting. Please do not choose the most decorative font. Some people will choose a font that is beautiful to their eyes, but that's not readable to the person hiring. So I would suggest, please don't do that. Don't do that. Let's avoid that. We're not here for that life. Anyway, and then another thing that I wanted to point out is Formatting. If something is supposed to be a paragraph, please don't make the paragraphs long. No one wants to read a long CV. Trust me, people receive thousands and thousands of CVs that when you don't go through, you wonder why. It's because when they looked at it, they saw a long paragraph and put it aside. So try to format, and also you put a full stop where it's supposed to be. Like some of these common mistakes, that's why we lose out on jobs. So it's always good to have someone else look at your grammar, look at your formatting, and just try to correct. Look at it as second, review it first personally, and have someone else review it for you, so that you know you're safe. And also, one last thing that I need to say is make it presentable. These days, there's so many tools out there. We're no longer living in an age where you just have a plain Microsoft document as your CV. Try to make your CV presentable. You can use different tables, different formats, and then different colors. You can have like a dual tone kind of for a CV where you have two colors, and you know that your tables are in this color. Like, make it colorful, make it presentable. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't have to be plain. You can still stand out when you have like a good presentation. Some people's CVs are actually in PowerPoint, so do not let anything restrict you. And then one other thing, and the most important thing of all, is when you're looking for a job, please and please, I know like most people like to keep it hush hush on the low, hush hush on the low, but it's always good to have a second opinion on your CV and on how you've presented yourself before you apply for a job. So you need to get someone that you trust to have a second look at your CV and hope that everything comes through. And that's it for today. I hope that you have picked out some points from here, and then next week we'll see what we can discuss career-wise. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not yet subscribed and you've liked the content that I've shared here, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, engage with me. I really like that. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys. Until next time, bye.